When it's pouring outside, these cozy and eerie films are exactly what you need to make the most of your autumn day. The first 5 will be cozy and wholesome, the other 5 will be creepy and dark instead. Let's get into the video. Number 1. My Neighbor Totoro. This is a 1988 Japanese animated fantasy. 2 young sisters relocate to a rural home with their father to be near their ailing mother, who is recovering in a hospital. While exploring the countryside and their new house, they encounter friendly forest spirits, including a large, gentle creature known as Totoro. Their bond with these magical beings deepens as they face unexpected challenges. Even though it's not my favorite Studio Ghibli, I immediately thought of it when I was looking for a feel-good movie with a great rain portrayal. Do you prefer movies with rain in them if it's raining outside, or the other way around? On this list, there's a mix of both, actually. The film explores themes such as Shinto symbolism, rural living, and daily struggles seen from a child's point of view. It may be the perfect family film on a rainy day, as it's age-appropriate and heartwarming for adults too. Number 2. Sense and Sensibility. This is a 1995 period drama based on Jane Austen's 1811 novel of the same name. After their father's death leaves them nearly penniless, 2 sisters and their family are forced to relocate to a modest cottage in the countryside. The older sister, guided by reason, quietly endures romantic disappointment, while the younger, driven by emotion, finds herself caught between 2 suitors. As they navigate love and hardship, both must reconcile their desires with the harsh realities of social class and fortune. Starring Emma Thompson, Kate Winslet, and Alan Rickman, this should be all you need to know to go ahead and watch it. Growing up, I increasingly despise Hugh Grant. This is a quaint piece shot on a beautiful set with incredible performances. You cannot help it. You root for the characters, you feel, and in my case, cry for them, but in the end, your soul will be filled and at peace. And who doesn't need some peace these days? Number 3. The Aristocats. This is a 1970 animated musical comedy. After a wealthy woman leaves her fortune to her cat and kittens, her scheming butler abandons them in the countryside to claim the inheritance for himself. Lost and alone, the cats meet a street-smart alley cat who promises to help them return to Paris, encountering quirky characters along the way. With the help of some new friends, they work to reclaim their rightful place. Wholesome, hilarious. My favorite scenes are the one with the lawyer, Georges, and the one with the geese and their uncle. The soundtrack is unforgettable, even if you're not into jazz. The animation isn't the best that Disney made because they released this movie when the studio was going through a rough time, and the animation is the part that suffered the most in this movie. Of course, cat lovers should watch this, but you will have a great time regardless. Number 4, you've got Mail. This is a 1998 romantic comedy inspired by a 1937 Hungarian play which had been adapted once before in the 1940 movie The Shop Around the Corner. A small bookstore owner despises the wealthy businessman behind a new corporate chain across the street. However, they unknowingly begin an anonymous online romance, unaware of each other's true identities. When he discovers she is his business rival, he must navigate his growing feelings while dealing with their real-life animosity. We need more movies about independent bookshops. This is lighthearted, maybe too sweet and simplistic. See, for example, the female main character, she's not layered and unrealistic, but you cannot expect much more from a rom-com. This movie reminds me of a time in which emails weren't necessarily official. There was no etiquette around them, and it also makes me think of how unsafe chats were back then. Now they're not safe either, but in a different way. So now when I watch this, I cannot help but think of how quickly this could have turned into a catfishing film or a straight up murder mystery. I mean, he manipulated her throughout the entire movie, but the difference is that the movie is still charming, and that's the main reason I rewatch it, to be honest. I usually associate it with Christmas, but the atmosphere works for the whole autumn season. Number 5, Labyrinth. This is a 1986 musical fantasy. After a frustrated teenager wishes her baby stepbrother away, the Goblin King kidnaps him and takes him to his castle hidden within a treacherous labyrinth. With only 13 hours to rescue him, she ventures through the maze, encountering strange creatures and deceptions at every turn. Along her journey, she must rely on unlikely allies and confront her own doubts to save her brother before it's too late. I thought this would be a great link between the cozy recommendations and the dark ones, which are coming up next. But Labyrinth doesn't fit into any category. It's unique. Yes, it's fantasy, specifically dark fantasy, and we talked about some of them here. But if you sold it to me as musical, I wouldn't have bought it. I did buy it because Labyrinth was one of my first DVDs. I believe it initially flopped because they didn't know how to sell it or who the target audience was supposed to be. Starring Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. When I first watched it, I had no idea how old the female protagonist was, but now it's one of the elements I find problematic. Let's say I would have preferred an older girl. If anything, this is true to some fairy tales and fantasy worlds in which an old man, ageless if you wish, but with centuries of experience like vampires and fairies, attracts a young girl, sufficiently innocent to fall into his trap, yet old enough to be a romantic partner, so to speak. But setting this aside, we should praise Labyrinth for the masterful use of puppets, practical effects, and dark yet dreamy atmosphere. It encapsulates some of the best aspects of fantasy cinema, with scary but also adorable side characters, a solid but straightforward story, and unique visuals. If you skipped it, save it for the next gloomy day. Shout out to this lovely subscriber for recommending Tumbledown. I haven't had the chance to watch it yet because it's not available where I live, but it's on my watch list, and he recommended it specifically when I asked about gloomy or rainy day recommendations. And a bonus recommendation would be E.T. the Extraterrestrial, because that's what my mom would watch on a gloomy or rainy day, and I believe it's the same for others, just to re-watch comfort movies or movies from your childhood. Now let's move on to the eerie and dark recommendations. Number 6, Department Q. This is a 2025 British crime thriller show based on the book series by a Danish writer. A once promising detective, haunted by guilt after a deadly attack leaves his partner paralyzed, is called back to work. He is tasked with investigating a cold case that slowly takes over his life. Leading a diverse and eccentric team, he digs into Edinburgh's unsolved mysteries. We need more shows starring Matthew Good. If you remember A Discovery of Witches, for example, which is also perfect for this season. But the personalities of characters made a huge difference in Department Q. Otherwise, this would have been just another detective show. It didn't look too appealing at first, despite the cast and evergreen British style, because it was slow, even though the main character reminded me of Dr. House, and that was promising to me. If you gave up after the first couple of episodes, thinking that it would continue to be slow or boring, maybe give it another go, because it really delivers. And I believe it's been renewed for a second season, so here's another reason to watch it. Number 7, Unbreakable or Split. Unbreakable is a 2000 sci-fi thriller, and I recommend both movies, but since Split is the sequel, I'll give you the plot summary of Unbreakable to avoid spoilers. After surviving a catastrophic train crash without a scratch, a man is left searching for answers that defy explanation. A mysterious individual with a rare condition offers a strange theory behind the survivor's immunity. This revelation has the potential to change everything he knows about himself and his family. This is not your typical comic book movie adaptation, especially if you're looking for spectacle. I remember being slightly disappointed at first, but over time I grew fond of it and its slow pace. Plus, if you saw my last video, you know I love Samuel L. Jackson, as I keep recommending movies with him. Even though Bruce Willis is the main character, Jackson's performance is still stuck in my head 20 years later. I initially wanted to recommend Split, but I gave for granted that everybody has watched Unbreakable, and it's not really the case. So if you watched Unbreakable, I highly recommend Split, which came out 16 years later, so I wouldn't be surprised that you missed it or didn't realize that Split was the sequel to Unbreakable. But Split would be absolutely perfect for a rainy day as well. Since Unbreakable has contrasting reviews, I'd like to hear your take. Was this a letdown or a hidden gem few people remember, in your opinion? Number 8. Blade Runner. This is a 1982 sci-fi dystopian movie, and it's an adaptation of Philip K. Dick's 1968 novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? In a polluted dystopian 2019 Los Angeles, a retired cop is reluctantly pulled back into his old role as a replicant hunter. His mission: track down and eliminate 4 rogue replicants who've escaped to Earth in search of a way to extend their brief lives. During his investigation, he meets and falls for one of the replicants, complicating his assignment. I must admit, last time I watched it, I gave up halfway through it. Not sure if I don't like it anymore or it simply didn't feel right on that day. Since I'm a mood watcher and I only put it on because they were about to pull it from a streaming platform. Either way, when I think of a rainy scene in a movie, this is the first that comes to mind. Every single time. You could switch this for anything cyberpunk or set in a futuristic, undefined Southeast Asian city, because you would get more or less the same aesthetic. Do you have any recommendations of this kind? If so, leave them down below. Number 9. Sleepy Hollow. This is a 1999 gothic horror based on the 1820 short story The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. A young, skeptical detective is assigned to the eerie village of Sleepy Hollow, where a series of decapitations have occurred. The locals believe these brutal murders are the work of a legendary headless spectre. Tasked with solving the mystery, the detective must uncover the truth behind the terrifying legend. Some say it's the best Tim Burton movie ever. Do you agree? I genuinely don't know. There are a couple of films similar to this, or that you might enjoy if you want to see something else along these lines. For example, The Raven, but also The Pale Blue Eye. And I've talked about both in the past. The aesthetic in Sleepy Hollow is immaculate. This movie satisfies my mystery crave, but it also adds enough eerie elements to be creepy but not scary, which is why I recommended it last year in my autumn series as well. It's not a perfect movie, by all means, but it has the perfect aesthetic for a moody, gloomy autumn day to be watched possibly with a warm cup of tea. Number 10. The Haunting of Hill House. This is a 2018 supernatural horror drama show loosely based on the 1959 novel of the same name by Shirley Jackson. A family torn apart by terrifying events is forced to confront their past as they are drawn back to the home that haunts their memories. Shifting between childhood and adulthood, the siblings must face the dark legacy of their former house, now infamous for its horrors. As they reunite in the wake of tragedy, they grapple with both lingering psychological scars and the possibility that real supernatural forces still haunt them. This is a suspenseful series, but not all episodes hit the same. The storyline is interesting, certainly recommended to those who love family dramas in a haunted house. Unlike other contemporary shows, this doesn't give us all the answers right away. It's not necessarily for the dumb kind of viewer or the one who is distracted on their phone the whole time. It lets us wonder. It builds tension without a jump scare every other minute, which I appreciated. What's your go-to gloomy rainy day movie or TV show? Let me know in the comments. And now that you watched this, check out the video on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.